Imagine a Tuesday morning. Your teams are logging in, ready to push a major software update. Suddenly, every automated workflow in your company goes blind. Anthropic's Claude Fable 5 has shut down worldwide. Millions of users are cut off instantly. The scale of this disruption is massive. Before the blackout, Fable 5 was the most capable public AI model ever released. Enterprise clients relied on it to handle everything from complex code migrations to live customer support. The kill switch was a surprise U.S. export control directive. Regulators cited national security concerns and critical jailbreak vulnerabilities. For the vendor, compliance came first, and the plug was pulled globally without a phase-out period. The result is global corporate panic. Customer support bots spout errors, code pipelines fracture. Executives scramble to figure out exactly how much of their daily operations rely on a single, suddenly dark vendor. No competent organization runs its entire payroll on a single, unbacked-up database. We demand disaster recovery for servers. We require failovers for payment processing. Yet, when it comes to frontier AI, too many leaders still treat it like a magic appliance you just plug in and prompt. That era is over. These models must be governed with the rigorous discipline of mission-critical infrastructure. To train organizations for this exact scenario, we run a live-fire tabletop case study called Model Dark. It forces business and tech leaders into the same room to navigate a sudden AI blackout. The parameters are strict. Your company's core AI is restricted. As the executive response team, you have exactly 30 minutes to formulate a continuity plan before the board demands answers. The very first task falls to the Chief Information Officer. Find every single place this restricted model is touching the organization. This diagram illustrates an AI dependency register. You start with a central corporate hub and trace the connections outward to find the specific workflows, like customer support triage, code generation, and financial decision modeling that rely on that exact model. You cannot stop at the official vendor contracts. You have to hunt down the shadow AI, the individual employee productivity tools and hidden background automations that quietly depend on the restricted model. Once identified, each workflow is immediately categorized by its specific business risk. You separate the red, critical nodes that stop operations entirely from the green nodes that merely slow down an internal report. You cannot engineer resilience or protect your reputation if you lack a baseline inventory of your own vulnerabilities. Identifying the problem only buys you time. The next step in the simulation is engineering the immediate technical solution required to keep the lights on. The primary defense against vendor lock-in is a model-agnostic architecture. This decision tree shows how you actively separate your core business logic from any single AI provider. If the primary model fails, the system instantly triggers a switch to a secondary routing path. From there, you establish acceptable degradation paths. A non-critical task, like internal research summarization, gets diverted to a smaller, open-source fallback model. The output might be slightly slower, but the work continues. You also have to define the absolute limits of your automation. High-risk tasks, like legal contract review, cannot be allowed to degrade. If the top-tier model vanishes, that workflow halts entirely and routes directly to a human-in-the-loop checkpoint. True engineering maturity requires planning for inevitable failure rather than blindly chasing the smartest available benchmark. Back in the simulation, the clock runs out. The response team is forced to present their findings under extreme pressure in the boardroom. The expectations for this final executive briefing are rigid. The team must clearly articulate what broke, deliver a concrete containment plan, and pitch the long-term governance fixes required to prevent a repeat disaster. While Model Dark is a tabletop simulation, the crisis it represents is based on very real, escalating geopolitical realities. As these models gain capabilities, governments will increasingly treat them as strategic infrastructure. These are dual-use national security assets, and they are fully subject to sudden regulation and strict export controls. The future belongs to organizations that abandon fragile power for strategic adaptation. Mastering resilient multi-vendor systems is the only way to ensure your operations survive the next disruption.